Our assessment this week is on unseen poetry. The first tip that I would give you is to make sure that you read the poem more than once. The second tip that I would give you is to make sure you highlight and talk about the title because it is of extreme importance. To start your analysis, I would focus on the positive words that you could see and I would highlight all of those, and then I would move on to the negative words to see if you can build up a picture of whether the poem is predominantly negative or positive in mood and atmosphere. Tip 4 would be to comment on the structure of the poem. So you are looking at the stanza length, you're looking at how the poem starts, and enjambment, where the poem lines run on to the next line, whether there is one stanza or many stanzas, and more importantly, how the poem ends. The final tip would be to talk about the poet's thoughts and feelings. This is absolutely so important, and you've got to say the poet's intentions were here to criticise, ridicule, mock, advocate, support, to exemplify, to embarrass, and so on. So let's read through this poem. The poem is called The Hero by Siegfried Sassoon. Jack fell as he'd have wished, the mother said, and folded up the letter that she'd read. The Colonel writes so nicely. Something broke in the tired voice that quavered to a choke. She half looked up. We mothers are so proud of our dead soldiers. Then her face was bowed. Quietly, the brother officer went out. He told the poor old dear some gallant lies that she would nourish all of her days, no doubt. For while he coughed and mumbled, her weak eyes had shone with gentle triumph, brimmed with joy, because he'd been so brave, her glorious boy. He thought how Jack, cold-footed, useless swine, had panicked down the trench that night the mine went up at Wicked Corner, how he tried to get sent home, and how at last he died, blown to bits, and no one seemed to care except that lonely woman with the white hair. So let's highlight any of the positive words. We've got nicely, proud, gallant, which means brave, nourish, shone, triumph, joy, another example of brave, glorious. All of the words in yellow highlight how the mother feels immensely proud of her son and is able to commemorate him as a hero. However, now we look at the poem and highlight the negative words. We've got broke, tired, choke, unable to breathe, dead, bowed, suggesting that she feels defeated, poor, lies, that's an important theme, weak, cold-footed, useless swine, so he was not a very good soldier. He panicked, he was scared, he was blown to bits, a really harsh, graphic, unfeeling way of saying that he died. No one seemed to care except that lonely woman, so we're meant to pity the woman at the end with the white hair. Here, Sassoon personifies the word mother to show that she represents all of the women in the country who'd sent off their children to die. However, there is a sense of glorification and an ignorance of actually what that meant for the soldiers who were facing the harsh atrocities of war. For tip 4, you need to look at the structure. So it's in 3 stanzas. Stanza 1 focuses on the mother who feels very patriotic and proud of her son and respects authority even though she feels incredibly vulnerable and upset by his death. Stanza 2 represents how the brother officer doesn't want to upset the mother by telling her the painful truth about how her son died, but Sassoon himself wants to make sure that the readers understand that World War I was not a glorious affair. To sum up in the last stanza focuses on a juxtaposition between how, in stanza 2, the son is glorified for his bravery and gallant behaviour in battle, whereas in the last stanza there is a direct difference between how he was useless and not a very good soldier. The last stanza as well uses a rhyming couplet at the end to highlight the women's sorrow after their loved ones have been killed at war. In blue, I have highlighted the writer's thoughts and feelings. In blue, we mothers are so proud of our dead soldiers. This highlights the lie and the propaganda that people were told in Britain about how it's patriotic and heroic to die for your country. Sassoon is highlighting the lies that people are told to show the truth about what was happening in the war. Sassoon was criticising the way the propaganda was falsely influencing the British people, and the rest of the poem serves to underline the falseness behind communication. In the same way that the son, the soldier, lied to try and get home, the brother officer is also lying to the mother, again perpetuating the falseness linked with war. Finally, another idea that Sassoon has is this idea of pitying the people who believe the lies and will nourish them until the end of their dying days. In this instance, it's the lonely old woman who's filled with sorrow who will then nourish the lie that she's been told that her son is a hero when in fact he was a coward. Thank you for listening to this short clip on how to improve your unseen poetry analysis. If you cannot remember or you have not retained the important critical information about how to analyse an unseen poem, please feel free to watch it all again. Thanks.